If you're a Warriors fan and felt like something changed in the last few days, pay attention now. What just came out about Stephen Curry isn't just another ordinary update. It's the kind of news that moves the locker room, divides opinions, and reignites fears that every fan knows very well. The feeling of instability, the fear that the team will lose its way, that question that hurts. And now, what will happen to the season? In this video, I will show you exactly what is behind this chaos, why it hit the group hard, and most importantly, what is the real path that the Warriors have to turn this game around before it is too late. Before I show you the detail that sparked this chaos in the locker room, do the following quickly. Subscribe to the channel now, because here you won't find out after everyone has already commented. Leave a like too. That's what makes YouTube deliver this video to more Warriors fans and keeps us bringing updates every day. And activate the bell, because when the next bomb goes off, you'll be one of the first to know. Now stay with me until the end, because what I'm going to show you in a moment completely changes the way you read this Curry update, and explains why the mood inside turned the way it did. If you follow the Warriors closely, you've probably sensed that something different is in the air. It's not just another bad phase. It's not just a sequence of irregular games or a specific rotation adjustment. There is a quiet change happening behind the scenes, and it has enough weight to impact not only the rest of this season, but also the immediate future of the franchise. That's exactly what I want to talk to you about now, directly, honestly, and bluntly, like someone sitting down to calmly analyze the team, looking beyond the final score. The Golden State Warriors have always been an organization marked by bold decisions. From the unlikely rise of Stephen Curry to building a dynasty based on a style of play that changed the NBA, nothing here was done with fear. And when you have a player like Curry, a generational talent who still plays at an elite level, time becomes a determining factor. Each season takes on greater weight. Each choice carries a huge responsibility. That's why the conversations happening right now within the franchise are not trivial. On paper, the squad entered this season with real playoff expectations. Stephen Curry remains the greatest shooter in the history of the game, someone who completely changes the way defenses organize themselves. His points average remains high, his efficiency remains absurd, and the gravity he creates on the court is something that no statistics can completely explain. All he has to do is step on the logo to force the defense to stretch, open spaces, and make mistakes. But basketball, as we know, is not just played on paper. Despite Curry's individual brilliance, the team as a whole has found it difficult to maintain consistency. There are nights when everything flows, the ball turns, the defense responds, and the winning DNA reappears. In others, the team seems stuck, without defensive intensity, too dependent on individual plays and vulnerable in decisive moments. This creates an uncomfortable, almost inevitable feeling that the current construction of the squad may have reached a limit. The board sees this clearly. When you're the Golden State Warriors, with a player of Curry's caliber still capable of deciding games, accepting mediocrity simply isn't an option. The mentality has always been to maximize the title window while it exists, even if that requires unpopular moves or difficult decisions. And to understand the current moment, it is worth remembering what happened recently. Last season, the franchise showed that it was not willing to just compete. The trade for Jimmy Butler sent a clear message to the league. It was a bet on experience, mental toughness, and presence in big moments. Butler brought just that: intensity, leadership, and a playoff mentality that few players possess. The title didn't come, but the message was clear. When there's a chance to raise their competitive ceiling, the Warriors don't hesitate. Now, again, the team finds itself at a similar point of reflection. The question that hangs in the air is simple, but heavy. Is this squad, as it stands, enough to take the team back to the top? Or will a new impact movement be needed to completely change the scenario? Within this analysis, some names naturally come into discussion. One of them is Buddy Hield. Since arriving, Hield has fulfilled exactly the role expected. A reliable shooter, capable of spacing the court, keeping the defense honest, and offering scoring off the bench. He is professional, understands his role, and does not generate noise off the court. For many teams, this type of player is ideal, but the NBA is, first and foremost, a business. And in this business, a player's value is not only in what he delivers on the court, but also in how his contract fits into possible negotiations. Buddy Hield has a reasonable salary, is a respected name in the league, and attracts interest from several franchises. This makes it, whether we like it or not, a functional piece in more complex exchange scenarios. This is not about belittling your contribution. On the contrary, it's about understanding how great movements are built in the NBA. When the possibility arises of acquiring a truly transformative talent, solid but not central pieces end up entering the conversation. And this is where the scenario begins to take on much greater proportions. Behind the scenes around the league, one name has dominated virtually all speculation: Giannis Antetokounmpo, a two-time MVP, NBA champion, dominant on both sides of the court and still in top physical shape. Any sign, no matter how small, that your future can be discussed creates an immediate domino effect. Teams start to calculate packages, executives review assets, fans dream. Recent reports have placed the Golden State Warriors among the possible destinations in a hypothetical Giannis move scenario. Of course, this does not mean that an exchange is close or even in formal negotiation. The cost would be gigantic, perhaps one of the largest in recent league history. Draft picks, promising youngsters, and key veterans would need to be included. It is in this context that Buddy Hield's name appears, not as a protagonist, but as part of a larger mechanism. In projections, a package involving players like Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield, and multiple first-round picks is cited as a theoretical basis for making something of this magnitude possible. For Milwaukee, it would be an opportunity to begin a robust restructuring. For the Warriors, it would be a total all-in move. The mere idea of seeing Curry and Giannis together on the court is enough to make any fan stop and reflect. On the one hand, the greatest pitcher in history. On the other, an almost unprecedented physical and athletic strength. Defensively, offensively, in transition, in the pick and roll, in clutch situations, it would be a nightmare for any opponent. There is no clear defensive answer for this type of duo. But every decision like this has a price. Losing Draymond Green would mean giving up the team's defensive soul, the emotional leader who helped shape the franchise's winning identity. Giving up Kuminga would be sacrificing an important part of the future, a young man with the potential to become an all-star. And losing Buddy Hield, despite not being the biggest name in the package, would directly affect the depth and spacing of the squad. That's why these conversations aren't simple. It's not just about raw talent, but about identity, continuity, and legacy. When you think about draft picks, the impact is even more profound. Picks represent renewal, flexibility, and long-term security. But when you're facing the final stretch of a player like Curry's window, the weight of the present tends to speak louder. The logic behind such a move is clear, betting that two transcendental superstars can compensate for the loss of depth. The history of the NBA shows that this is possible. We saw this with LeBron and Anthony Davis, with Kevin Durant and Curry himself, with other duos that, even without perfect squads, reached the top because they had enough talent to decide entire series. From Buddy Hield's perspective, such a scenario would be bittersweet. He arrived at the Warriors with the expectation of competing for titles, found his space in the system, and delivered exactly what was asked. Being involved in an exchange of this size would not be a reflection of failure, but rather of value. Experienced players understand that this is part of the game, especially when the goal is a championship. For us fans, there is only one thing left to reflect on. What is most important at this moment in the franchise's history? Maintain a competitive core with depth and continuity, or risk everything in search of one last big leap while Stephen Curry is still in his prime? There is no easy answer, no risk-free decision. What is clear is that the Warriors are once again at a crossroads. Conversations are happening, scenarios are being designed, and the possibility of significant changes is real enough to generate tension in the locker room and expectations among the fans. Nothing is defined, but the simple fact that these discussions exist already says a lot about the moment of the franchise. Now, I want to hear from you. Would you make this move? Would you bet everything on a Curry and Giannis duo, even knowing the emotional and structural cost it would bring? Or do you prefer to rely on internal development, specific adjustments, and maintaining the identity that brought so many titles? That's the kind of debate even defines eras, and Dub Nation has always had an active voice in these conversations. One thing is certain, as long as Stephen Curry is wearing this jersey, the Golden State Warriors will continue to explore all possibilities to compete at the highest level. Difficult decisions are part of the path to greatness. And, whether we like it or not, we are living through another one of those moments that could redefine the direction of the franchise in the coming years. Strength in numbers. And that is exactly why this moment is so decisive. What is happening now is not just another market rumor or speculation. It is the type of situation that separates teams that just compete from those that actually compete for titles. The next few weeks could redefine the present and future of the Golden State Warriors, shake up the locker room, change hierarchies, and open a new chapter in the Stephen Curry era. Nothing here is small. Nothing is irrelevant. Each decision can echo for years. If you want to follow everything in real time, understand every movement, every behind the scenes, and every possible scenario without missing absolutely anything, the next step is simple. In the pinned comment is the Golden State Warriors News Today playlist. Get in there now, because that's where I'm gathering all the updates, in-depth analysis, and information that really matters to those who live the Warriors every day. Watch the next videos in the sequence, because this story is far from over, and those who follow to the end always understand first.